what you do, only you can do that.
What do we do about the bones?
We do this.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kyle Suggs, and today I'm going to review Green Book right now. Green Book. This movie was directed by a guy named Peter Farrelly, and it was set in 1962. It's based on a true story about Don Shirley, who is a classical pianist, and he decides to travel to the deep South during the segregation era, the Jim Crow era, and it's his relationship with a gentleman by the name of Tony Vallelonga. And they have a unique relationship. It's a true story, and it highlights the travels they did and a particular item that they must carry, which is called the Green Book, which is basically the Negro's guide for hotel stays and public stays in the South during segregation. Okay, so let's get into this review. Green Book, essentially at its core, is a buddy film and a road trip film where you see two people on the opposite ends of the spectrum. You have Don Shirley, this classically trained, world famous musician, and Tony Vallelonga, who is a hard-nosed family man, New Yorker, who happens to be a bouncer and very tough. And so you have a sort of an odd couple thing going. In fact, that's a really good example. This is like The Odd Couple. The Odd Couple meets a road trip meets Mississippi Burning, okay? Because you put these people who are diametrically opposed in many, many ways, forced together, going to a hostile and dangerous environment that is the Deep South. And so that's your story. And of course, there are things that happen along the way. And of course, it becomes a friendship. And that's what makes this picture work, in my opinion. Tropes that are proven and which makes this movie perfect for the Oscars. Is very well acted by Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. And I think the chemistry is great. It's very humorous. And it's very emotional at times too. And we'll get into that. So for the story, I would rate this as a 6 because, like I said before, these are tropes that have been done before. And so we'll keep it at that. It's pretty fair. As far as emotional impact in this movie, I think it's probably one of the strongest parts of this. And so I give it a 7 because, as you can imagine, there's moments in this film that really get you in terms of the oppression that's happening and the insecurity of the characters and how they help each other. I don't want to give much of it away until I get to the spoiler section. But the thing is that these characters make you want to pull for them. And when they go through the struggles they go through, it does pull out that emotional aspect of it. And so for emotional impact, I give it a strong 7. So for the intangibles, I would say this movie is paint by numbers. I mean, you can kind of see this thing. It's pretty predictable. And there's not much really to it that's really going to shock you, surprise you. You can call most of the things that are going to happen in this. But the intangibles, I would say, would be the acting and the relationship between Ali and Mortensen. I think that really is at the root of this movie, the strength of it. And it's got some romance in there too, not between those two characters. I'll get into that in the spoiler section again, but I'd recommend not watching the trailer of that before watching it because there's some serious spoilers in that trailer that's going to ruin the ending and a few parts of that movie that you pretty much want to experience as you watch it. Speaking of watching, I could watch this movie over and over again, so I give it an 8 on watchability. I think it's the kind of movie that you can just pop in and watch with the family. I'd say about 13 or 14 or older. Not too much objectionable in this film that I can remember. Maybe a couple spots here, but nothing gratuitous. And so it's a good history lesson as well. And so for that, I think it's fabulous. In some ways, it's a feel-good movie. So by all means, it's an 8 for watchability. For my overall rating of this film, I give it a 7. I think 7 is a solid number. It's right there at some of the best films that I've seen. So yeah, a 7 is a good number. It's not going to overly wow you, but the formulas in this film you've seen before time and time again, but it doesn't change the fact that if you execute something well, it's going to pay off. In this case, it does. So for my conservative take, this is going to be a spoiler section. You'll see the spoiler note above. So everything here is going to be, I'm going to spoil the movie, so if you don't want to know what's going on, just skip forward and you can get to the end. Index is below if you want to jump to it directly. Okay, so in this film, Jim Crow era, you're dealing with an era that was run by Southern Democrats, and I like to remind people that this was run by Democrats, and that a lot of times Hollywood, in some of these movies we've seen before, they want to point the picture at conservatives and Republicans as being these races. Well, the fact of the matter is this is Democrat territory. This movie does not get political, but I'm just saying that because a lot of times we forget these things, and it's hard to watch some of these movies because we're afraid that they're going to point the finger where they shouldn't be pointed. And so in that case, that's the first thing I would say in terms of the overall narrative of this film. And so as far as that's concerned, I know some of you may be thinking that the parties switched and that those really weren't Democrats, those were really Republicans. Well, I'm going to leave a link below of a video that I did called The 3 Reasons Why the Parties Never Switched. Check that out and comment below on that as well. It's well documented. The second thing is that many people in Hollywood don't like this film because they don't think it's woke enough. I mean, they think that this movie doesn't come out too strongly one way or the other. And that's one of the charms about this movie. One thing that makes this movie so charming is the fact that it doesn't have any overt messages of political correctness or anything like that. It's just two people trying to get to the South, trying to get to this tour, and trying to make money because Tony's character is out of a job while the club is being renovated. And so he needs to get the money, and his wife is urging him on. There's a scene early on in the movie where some black people come over to, I think, work on the refrigerator or the air conditioning or whatever, and she offers them lemonade. They drink from the glasses, and he throws the glasses in the trash can to indicate that he's not too cozy about black people. I mean, he's not outright racist, but at the same time, he's just like, you do, that's, it just is what it is, and he's maybe a little prejudiced. And so that friction is going to be there at the beginning, and of course that blossoms into a friendship. Don's character is homosexual, which is something that comes out that is not really expected. I mean, you can kind of predict it, but when the scene where he comes in the police station and he's actually being handcuffed to the police station, totally naked with another guy, and Tony comes in and actually bargains him out of there, it becomes a point there where you see them beginning to form a friendship because Tony really wants to protect this guy and prevent him from being hurt. There's a scene where he goes to a bar and gets beat up. That is Shirley's character. He gets beat up by some country rednecks. And Tony comes in there and rescues him and prevents him from getting hurt even further. But at the same time, Don's character teaches Tony about things, teaching about life and about love and about being considerate and having integrity and how to write letters to his wife. And so they're both helping each other out through life. And one of the most touching moments in this film is the point in the film where Don feels that he's going to lose Tony. He's going to quit, and he raises his price. It gives him an offer. Don offers Tony a promotion, and you can see in Ali's face, and this is why I think he won the Oscar. You can see in his face the disappointment that he was going to lose this guy, and he needs this guy, this white, tough and rough dude that he was basically talking bad about most of the movie. But he knows that he needs this guy, this man in his life to help him get through this test of this tour through the South. So to me, that's the best part of the film, and it's probably one of the most emotional parts of this movie. So that's my conservative take on this. It's a good green light to go check it out. It's awesome. So for my final review, I will give this movie a 13.75 out of 20, and that translates to 3 stars, which would translates to, I believe that will be 3.5 stars out of 5, but 3 out of 4 stars for this film. I give it a go. It's a film that you don't have to worry about, being preached to or a woke message. It's something that I feel comfortable recommending in that regard. But all in all, it's just your typical decent movie. It's nothing to write home about, but it is a good, solid film. So with that, that's my review of Green Book. I'll see you on my next conservative take.